being Cincinnati, I always felt there was no place for artists and especially creatives, especially people of color, especially women, and to just feel safe. To just come together, not as like a networking thing, but actually as fun.
Right.
And also, there's not a lot of spaces for DJs just to play music. Oftentimes, if they play in clubs or in bars in Cincinnati, they have to play like a certain thing. Like, we want to hear top 40, you have to play this certain hip hop.
Right. Welcome to Always for the Culture podcast, presented by Elements and sponsored by the United Way. I'm Camille Jones, and I'm here with the creators of Warmth. Welcome, CJ and Alex. Warmth is a music exploration series for creatives and lovers of music. You share your platform for DJs and performing artists to collaborate, network, just shine. And you really do create a safe space for everybody to just get together and feel the warmth. Mm-hmm. So you want to talk about that a little bit? Where warmth came from, the idea?
I think, I just, being here, being Cincinnati, I always felt there was no place for artists and especially creatives, especially people of color, especially women, and to just feel safe. To just come together, not as like a networking thing, but actually as fun.
Right.
And also, there's not a lot of spaces for DJs just to play music. Oftentimes, if they play in clubs or in bars in Cincinnati, they have to play like a certain thing. Like, we want to hear top 40, you have to play this certain hip hop.
Right.
And I think, the understanding and belief that DJs are also artists, you know what I'm saying? And if you deprive them from letting them show you their work and just, kind of like poke them like a little monkey on like in Central Park, like, you play this, can you play this, can you request that? It's I think it doesn't let them be seen, let them be heard, let them show their art. Like, you would never ask Picasso, can you do this to your painting, Picasso? Why would you tell a DJ, can you add this to your mix or do this? And that's what initially what I wanted. Just to I ultimately have like a kickback, a big kickback for the homies. And they bring their homies, and we bring their homies, and they're all creatives.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And kind of adding to that, I remember just sitting at my kitchen table when I lived in Milwaukee, and we were just kind of talking about if we're going to do this, we really need to respond to a need, to an itch that needs to be scratched in Cincinnati. And in addition to DJs being recognized as artists, it's really providing a platform to elevate emerging artists and elevate creatives in that space. I think people use the term safe space a lot, and it's sort of a loaded thing where it's like, what does that even mean anymore? Because everyone uses it so much, but I've been shifting to more of a trusted space, because trust has been something that I've been really meditating on, especially when it comes to this series, but also just me operating in my relationships, kind of where we were talking about earlier. And so trust is a thing that is cultivated between individuals, and trust is, it really does set the whole tone for a space. And for how relationships can grow or retract. And so we've been using more of like a trusted space to really kind of inspire that kind of thinking behind it. Yeah.
Love that. And I love the mention of warmth being the trusted space, where it really is just about bringing creatives together to enjoy music and not necessarily enjoy company, enjoy music, but not necessarily be about, okay, you got to connect with these people if you want to, get your work out there. It's not necessarily about that. That isn't really the goal of Warmth. And I think that's why you've both had so much success with Warmth. I know I've been to 2 of the events, and they've been packed houses because Warmth sets itself apart in terms of curated events here in Cincinnati. It is just about coming as you are. I know the motto is bring your best self.
Right.
Could you talk a little bit about what that means, bring your best self?
Yeah.
I think when we think about bringing your best self, I always thought about it's just like similar to what you just said, come as you are, but like in the sense like you don't have to put on a shield or put up a wall. I feel like sometimes when we go out, you know, what of the circumstances, you may be, you know, a person of color and, you know, in a place that's doesn't have, you're like the only person of color there. You may be a femme in a place that's all just male energy. Like we're, you know, and sometimes you have to put up that guard to protect yourself. I always wanted to create a space where it's just like you don't have to put up your guard. Like sometimes I go around like, you know, bars and venues and stuff, and there's not a lot of people dancing. Not a lot of women dancing because they're scared. And, like some dudes are gonna try to talk to them and like you reject them. We don't, you know, there's horror stories about where that can go. You know what I mean? And you just, or people are just being too cool. They don't want to be the first one dancing. Yeah. They don't want to be. They don't act like that. They enjoy this song, enjoy the ambiance. So we wanted to always get away from that. It's like, bro, you know, take off your cool, just be you. And also, if you don't feel safe here, or you don't feel this space is trust, you don't have to do it either, though. You know what I mean? Just, you know, we meet you where you're at.
Yes.
We're not trying to pressure you to do anything. There's some people who don't even come to work, who don't dance, who just be in the corner, just, you know, having the drinks, having a good time, and just talking, you know. And they just like it. Like my favorite thing, Siri Mani, the legend, is the queen of Cincinnati. She's like, I really love Warm because it's like the only event I can go to, I don't have to do anything.
Right.
She does a lot.
She does.
Sometimes I way too much. Like, how you sleep at night? But you know, and you know, we do that for artists like her, you know, and you know, amazing other artists in the city who put a lot of their heart in the city and put a lot of their heart in their art and what they put out, that they just don't have time to breathe, but they get a chance to, you know, enjoy like amazing DJ sets and performances from the Cincinnati's, you know, finest DJs. But I think we're even getting national now. Like, you know, this next Warm brings some national talent in, so yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that, though, that Warmth seems to be bringing the dance back to the party, seems to be that place for the creatives who are like exhausting themselves, exhausting their reserves, to create impact here in the community and in a larger respect beyond the community. Warmth is their place to say, I can finally like let down this like you know, suit of armor, you know what I mean? And this is where I get to like just be myself and have fun, and this isn't something that I had to put on and feel like it has to have this huge objective, you know, and go for the event. And I think that's why so many people are drawn to it. So yeah, I would like to thank y'all for even thinking to create Warmth, and you saw that need. Speaking on recognizing that need here in Cincinnati, you both are actually from different places. You're from California, you're from Wisconsin. Well, you're
Ohio I just recently got back from Wisconsin.
Okay.
A little bit of everywhere.
Gotcha.
But I grew up a little bit north of here. Cool. Yeah, outside of Yellow Springs.
Oh, wow, cool. But how does each of your perspectives, how do those perspectives help you sort of like recognize the need here in the city? How does it guide your work with Warmth? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I guess I can start. So I've traveled and lived in a lot of different places. Both I had the good fortune of being able to live abroad in Eastern Europe and then also here in the States, you know, obviously. And so being around a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, feeling a pulse and an understanding that the world is a lot bigger than just Cincinnati, and understanding that when I first moved here in 2015, it was a instant kind of challenge to find that community, and I was again I felt like I was back in my 6th grade self, hopping from the lunch table to lunch table to lunch table to kind of find my people.
Yeah.
And I think that's being able to go outside Cincinnati, and I encourage my friends here, because I think Cincinnati is such a special place, in which within a 6-hour radius, there's so many different cities and so many different things going on. And Cincinnati is really just it's a hub of activity and a hub for the arts in our region. I really strongly believe that for innovation, especially with what the pulse of everything that's happening right now. It's such an exciting time to be part of Cincinnati's art scene. And but 2015 when I first moved here, it didn't feel that way, or I wasn't able to ride that pulse. It didn't feel as steady. And so I think there's a little bit of mix of now the second time around coming back to Cincinnati. It feels very different. It feels very alive, and more open to collaboration. I think Alex and I talk about this a lot with, we have a lot of people who are from Cincinnati, and then we have a tremendous influx of artists who are not from Cincinnati, who didn't grow up here, grew up elsewhere, traveled all around, and they're infusing their own piece into this city, and they're collaborating with Cincinnati creatives and doing amazing, incredible things. People that have been on guests here, like G, Michael Kopaj, from visual artists, but also even Primetime's from Louisville, and he came up here and he's doing incredible things. And so it's I always encourage any of my Cincinnati friends, if you feel like you're getting burnt out, it's probably because you haven't gone outside of Cincinnati for a while. It's we just took a little mini trip to Louisville this last weekend, and it was really invigorating, because it was like just getting a different perspective, seeing what's going on, seeing what's not going on, and then bringing that back and saying, oh, I really like what they did here, or man, wouldn't that be cool if we could collaborate with these folks up in Indianapolis and do something here in Cincinnati. And so it's a real opportunity to kind of get a different perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Travel is so important. What would you have to say about being from California and seeing the need here?
Well, I think I moved to California, I am from here. I was born here.
Right.
But, living, I say, California raised me. I think I had the opportune time, and that happened of chance to be in California when the hyphy movement came out. And that was a big thing, because it changed kind of the sound of hip hop. Like even now, a lot of people have that Bay Area drums and sound that Bay Area bounce. But the spirit in of the Bay Area, especially in hyphy, but also even going back to the 60s and 70s with the Black Panther and holistic art, the Black arts movement, and going back to Sly and Family Stone and all these great legends in R&B, soul, funk, and now hip hop and stuff like that. I got to see the generations of different musicians and scenes, in other artists, artists our age, right? And something about being in the Bay Area is just they want to have a good time, they want to dance. There's people have parties in the park, bringing dang near 1,000, 2,000 people in the park, just having a good time, just vibing and dancing. And when I moved here, I wanted to bring a piece of that, because that's a part of me. I can't take away what's a part of me.
Right.
You shouldn't, you can try to get rid of it, but it's going to come out some way or the other, right? So here I wanted people to go to shows and but enjoy themselves. I had a hard time. I feel like being here for the first 2 years because people were doing shows, but no one was like paying attention to artists, or they just wanted to be there just because it was something to do outside the house. It's like, if you want to have a conversation, you can just stay at home, invite your friends over. You know what I mean? You guys are not having. It doesn't seem like people are not having the time and not resonating with what's going on in their own city. And I think that's what I learned from being in the Bay Area and being in California for so many years. It's like whatever's going on has to resonate. You're going to have to notice this. You're going to have to notice this, and I applied that here. I think I did a good job.
Yeah.
Me and other people, not just me, but we applied that here.
Right.
The trajectory of your growth, just from when you first, just thinking about, you've been doing kind of residencies, from No Cool Kids Allowed to Off the Block was kind of the first jump into that, right? And so now with Warmth as this culmination of those different elements, and taking what you learned, and what kind of made you come alive with this kind of work from living in Sacramento,
right?
Those art centers, it's kind of undeniable, that influence.
Absolutely, especially when you think about noticing that disconnect here when you go to events, and you just pay attention to how it doesn't look like people are having a good time.
You ask them, you're like, we're having a great time. Like, I can't tell.
It doesn't look like that.
Check your face.
Right. Because you were raised in an environment where like dancing was such a major part of your artistry, because you're not just you don't just do production and just beat production and things like that. You're always grooving. You dance, you write, and things like that. And you the same way, being a visual artist, and not just being a leader in development or leading arts initiatives, but you're a visual artist yourself, and it shows in the way that you tapped into the city and thought about how can we activate people, because it seems like there is a disconnect here between the citizens of this city and then how they engage with the arts. And I agree with you. I do think there's like this new wave of collaboration and the pulse when you think of the art scene. And this is coming from somebody who is born and raised here. There's a lot of people here that are natives that don't necessarily know what's going on. There's a crave, like a desire to be involved in creative happenings, but so many people just haven't known about how to like go about reaching those things. And I think Warmth and different initiatives that you each have put on prior to Warmth has helped change that for a lot of people.
And I can say that from my first time around of just not knowing how to jump in and feeling like I needed to be prepared and ready. I needed to be an artist before I show up in those spaces, in those artist spaces.
Right.
And I think that's why I was always kind of outside, inside in those spaces. And I wasn't able to bring myself, let alone my best self. And so it was like, once I started saying, no, I am an artist and my lived experience is expertise and I trust myself, and I belong here. I want everybody who walks into that space to feel that energy, and kind of discover that for themselves in that space.
What brought you to that realization that you don't necessarily have to get to this ready point?
I think being in communion with other artists again. I'm very fortunate to have just who's in my family, in my chosen family of creatives in my realm. And so just seeing whether they're their top tier, their experience, they got a lot more years on me doing their thing as artists and seeing how they operate, and then saying, no, you're in this room too. You're in this conversation too. Why are you standing in the back? Wendell put me on stage saying, no, you get the mic now. I know you like behind the scenes, but you've got your spot here too. You got to say something because you're part of this.
Right.
And that's very validating for me, as someone who I purposely decenter myself as a practice. There's a lot of reasons for that. But also just just really kind of recognizing, no, like I'm putting in the work, and I'm going through that. It's a constant practice.
Right. Absolutely.
For sure. But you got to live it to be it, you know.
What about you, Alex? Like, what brought you to the point where you were just, you know what, I want to do this. I feel like it's time to start taking the lead here in the art scene in Cincinnati?
I think it was when I first got here. I told myself, I had to go back to my Facebook. One of the first couple weeks, like my aunt remembers it. I put it out there. It's like, I'm going to get so involved in Cincinnati that we're going to bring culture and change. Like spoken into existence.
Manifest.
And like, I think that I came here in 2015, 2016, early 2006. I wasn't even here for a year yet. As I got involved with Elements, where we're still over on Racing Central. And as you know, people who were there, like Brother Abdul and Nitty and Tafari, I was like, look, I want to be a part of it. I was being they were like, who are you? What do you want? But I was like, I dance. I had a hunger. I just wanted to be involved, and like, been through being involved in Elements. I remember the first thing they had me on was we were at the Cincinnati Art Museum. I think you see a square perform.
I think so.
And it was like a big thing. Like, it was doing hip hop. I think it was actually hip hop.
Oh yeah, probably.
And I was playing drums and stuff, and playing making beats. And I met Ajoke, and Joke, he took me to this one festival, and I just met a whole bunch of other people, and me and my homie Vinny Good Word, shout out Good Word. He's also from San Francisco. He just moved here. He's like, we should start open mic. So we started open mic, and I think from there, just like I just saw like the opportunity to just create something special for not just me. It's not even really about me. It's just for the city and for other artists to resonate and be seen and practice their art and create some cultural economy. I just always seen that, like, we need to do this, and that led to other things. No Cool Kids Allowed, and now Warmth. And I think Warmth is like my baby, because like it's all the things I learned, all the good things I learned, all the things I learned that I had to go back to the drawing board. Like, okay, this didn't work out. I can apply it to Warmth, and even with Warmth, we're still learning how to, especially with content and with projection of how we're going to put stuff out and what do we want to do. Like, we're still learning, but then, like, we're coming up on a year. Like December is like it's going to be our anniversary. It's our annual. And it's like, dang, we have done a lot. But I think Warmth couldn't be Warmth yet because I couldn't do it like 3 years ago. I mean, because we're in COVID, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it 4 years ago because I feel like I wasn't ready yet. I was still trying to get my feet wet, still, trying to make a name for myself, still trying to put myself out there. I'm very respected, I feel like, in the community, the people as a person that's doing stuff. And I think, being able to do more if that resonates now. Through the community.
Right.
And also because I have her on my side.
Yes.
the master organizer. Boss, we like to call at home. Like me and the cat's like, yes, boss.
But you've got this visionary mind and being able to see that, and it's something that I've been thinking about and just talking to a couple friends the other day about, and those kind of dynamics and the most successful dynamics in studying, and like whether it be different art projects or different kind of just good relationships.
Right.
There's always like an anchor and a sail, and so I think we both definitely, because I can go pretty hard in the paint with like logistics and planning, and I really want to make things.
She wants me to do it. I'm like, okay.
but we definitely take turns in being each other's anchor, and then also being each other's sail. And I think I've really been stretched and pushed in like these really amazing ways to expand how I work and and to recognize what my strengths are in this project. And then for him, I think I challenge you, and to really kind of really refine and just really take those visions and put foundations on them, and like just to kind of really stretch to say, hey, in this direction, what do we want to do? What are the steps to get there? So I love working with these big concepts and these big ideas, because your inclinations and your intuition on things is like spot on every time. You wouldn't be in the space that you are now without that. I'm a creative problem solver. That's where I come alive. And I love being able to walk that back and do backwards design and figure out how we make that happen. How do we make that a reality? Right. That's where it really makes me feel like, ooh, it's great. Yeah.
It sounds like you two have realized a lot of strengths by working together, maybe.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
About each other, about yourselves. Like working together has opened up new discoveries.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
How is it hard? What are the challenges? What are some of the challenges?
I'm Taurus, she's Scorpio. So the bull versus Scorpio.
He went straight.
But it's not even that. I mean, besides astrological, it's just like she's much of the planner. I'm more so like, let's just do this right now. Let's do it. Improv.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't have these as our notes. We didn't put this down. I'm like, why are you writing too much? We need to get this out.
Just do
this.
I'm big on an accountability, because it's, for me, my word is impeccable. If I'm saying I'm going to do something, I want to make sure that I got it locked in.
Right.
And that comes from me being in spaces. This project is led by artists of color, and so I'm white, and I know it's shocking. I know.
If you didn't know.
No, but so it's like, for me, that comes down to, you know, if you think about warmth, how it's sonically anchored in R&B, house, and hip hop music, and so that's you know, that comes from Black culture, and so being a white person in this space, it's and in those spaces, and being able to curate in those spaces is really important for me, to take those notes and to capture. And I know I'm documenting what our artists are saying and the direction and the vision, because I want to make sure that no one feels like their ideas are pushed out or not. The worst thing that the perennial thing that I revisit in my mind is making sure that those who collaborate with us or those in our space are seen, are recognized, are heard. That's so important, so vitally important for emerging artists, for young artists, to feel that they belong, and that they're heard, and that their ideas and their creative visions are to be respected and lifted up. And then just thinking about the high caliber creatives that we work with, it's all respect, you know, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your life experience has helped you navigate within this space? Because you talk about being a white person building this thing, but within a culture that is historically been popularized by Black and brown people. Do you ever have like any hesitancy, or how has your life experience helped you like navigate that sort of that road, so you don't, I don't know, I don't want to like suggest anything, but so you don't necessarily come off as I don't know, you could think about like the white savior sort of like thing,
right?
But like, and I know you, but you ever had any like sort of pause when it comes to that, or just worried about perception or anything like that?
Sure. A friend, Devin Burgess, he asked me one night, we were at the old place, and he said, "Do you ever feel uncomfortable in our space as a white woman?" No, but I do feel more aware in different spaces of how I operate in those. Spatially aware, more with just kind of being observant and more like, I don't know. I think because maybe it's because of working with working in international universities and traveling a lot, and just being generally like the only, like just being like either the only woman in the room, or being the only white person in the room, or only person who speaks English in the room. Right. I think that I've just kind of put myself in the awareness of that. But definitely with, as far as activating my strengths and not centering myself, but knowing that like the creative vision and the culture making, that's in the hands of creatives and visionaries, and that my strengths with logistics and being able to make those things happen, that's where I activate. And I think that's
beautiful.
It keeps that balance and that harmony really beautifully.
Yes, beautiful. I definitely feel like your strengths are magnified because you do have that awareness. And like you said, your experience with traveling and living in different places, being around different cultures, enhances that and enhances all your abilities, and you are such a valuable person. So
thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think one of the biggest things that's been so important and so monumental for Warmth especially, is coming back to being a trusted space, is accountability. So I rest a lot of accountability in a feedback from, and just trusting from Alex and from artists that I'm really close to in this project, to give me that accountability, give me that feedback,
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool.
Perfect. I do want to ask you about just what even goes into curating an event, a Warmth event. Like, can you break that down a little bit? I know it's exhausting.
We're refining it and finding it more and more, right?
You gotta drink water.
You gotta drink water, right? Start there, right? Self-care. Step number one.
Step one, drink a lot of water. Number two, just be, I think, intentional. I think with curation, especially as like it comes with music, and with thinking about so many people being involved, you have to have like a sense of intentional. What are you trying to do with this event?
Yep.
There's some events. Some people just want to do events for money grabs. I get it. You just want to be popular and just throw parties. I've never been a fan of that, because I don't know. I just never popping bottles, celebrating nothing for no damn reason, And like a lot of these people, some of these people buying bottles with gas money and rent money just to look, And I'm not shaming them or anything like that. Sure. But I think it's a weird thing of like you have to look this good, look cool. It's like no, I intentionally want to show you that you don't have to have any money. You don't have to, have the freshest clothes. You don't have to be, the, CEO of this or whatever, no titles. I want you to be in this space. And so when it comes to intention, I want to make sure that, especially with warmth, we have to make sure that someone who comes to warmth, whether it be at, you know, Mockbee, whether it be at, you know, a warehouse, or whether it be at North Side or wherever, OTR, that they leave with something. That they felt good. That they felt, you know, that they can put their guard down. So I take an intention, and that's just, you know, planning and make sure like who's going to be on, who you like, what are we feeling? Like, do we want to have more house? Do we want to have more R&B in this one? Do you want to have like a hip hop show?
Right.
Turning up those levers. Yeah. You know,
like what is the pulse? How we feel? What is needed right now? This one, the next one we're doing August 19th. I think it's going to be the first one with performers.
Yeah.
So that's going to be new for us. I mean, not new for me. But definitely not new for you.
Yeah. I know.
What made you decide that to have performers this time?
I think in addition to purposely going around to different venues, because this is our first year, so we're not only trying it out, but we're testing out those spaces and those partnerships.
Right.
But it's also wanting to be able to really think about, we're not just a DJ collective. Think that's been, it's so interesting when you start a series and to see how other people talk about it and what sticks, and do the things that you want to stick. And if not, or if there's certain things that you want to highlight more and bring things out more and find that balance in that project to really bring out that full spectrum of what we want to do. Sort of realizing that we want to bring in more performance. I want to create a space where visual artists will not only find a space to just like sit and hang out and vibe, but also like want to, you know, get up and contribute to the space. It's an invitation. It's an invitation for artists to come and to explore, you know. And so performance artists for this will be our fourth one. It's going to be hip hop sets. And then we've got these, you know, the live DJ performance that goes on as a steady. I'm really excited for it. You want to talk about who's on? Or?
Yeah, so, I mean, our good friend Landon Worswell from Atlanta, by way of, you know, everywhere.
He is literally everywhere.
Everywhere. When I first met him, he was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that was like 4 years ago. But he's coming through. He's bringing his another amazing his DJ slash producer, Don Avalar. He's from New Mexico. Then they're bringing another guy from Buffalo, New York, and we're bringing Dale Gold. We got Devin Burgess, and once again the Queen herself, Siri Imani. Yeah. But you know, in our DJs for the night is going to be Medallion. And Medallion's been here. Like, he's lived in Cincinnati, but he's also had experience life in like Denver, Colorado. Then like Rod D, she's based here, but she's from Detroit.
Yep.
So it's gonna be like a whole plethora of like people from Cincinnati and not from Cincinnati, and we're very excited for it. It's gonna be probably more adventurous, you know, just seeing how we pull off this with like artists. You know what I'm saying? I just know it's going to be a good time. I think the energy is going to be there. I think, you know, it's going to be well received, and people are going to vibe out and have a great time and leave with something. And that's like I said, intention, what I want people to leave with. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that intentionality even goes back to how you all describe warmth. You've expressly used the word series, and that's so interesting because warmth is so much more than just one-off events, right? Why the word series? Why did you choose that? Could you talk a little bit about that, like what that word means to you and how that is sort of like pushing the direction for where you want it to go?
I think even now, series is limiting to how expansive I feel like this project is. Adding warmth to warmth culture. Right. Like culture is a piece, but like Seriously, what you?
Right, like,
Where do we
think
start
about
with
this.
it?
Last year, we just were trying to do this part of like truth and reconciliation.
Yeah, so let's talk about the kitchen table and how that's
And
Start at the kitchen.
come to the kitchen table about this.
and like looking at like it's funny because we applied our truth and reconciliation,
Oh God.
and we missed it by a minute.
What?
We had never done a grant together. We had never collaborated together. I was in Milwaukee, he was in Cincinnati. We were on Zoom.
We
and
were silent for 10 minutes.
Wait,
He was
you
like,
can't get the grant.
I was like, okay, you're gonna hit the go. You're gonna hit it. You go.
I hit the go.
I
I
was-
forgot. I was like, I forgot to put my my tax information. Went back. It was freaking 11:59. Went back, tried to put it in. 12 o'clock. Click. I'm sorry. This is great.
And we could have probably emailed them and pursued it.
You know
But-
what? It just wasn't meant to be.
but looking at it, it wasn't meant for us.
Yeah, it was.
And I think we thought we just wanted to do 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think doing it, we realized that was a blessing because like it was a blessing missing that deadline because we put a limit on it.
Exactly. You would have boxed yourself in.
Yeah.
And so I think now it's just us doing it and like learning about we're trying to learn how to like write for grants and get sponsorships. I think now it's just we're working on it. Now I think we're getting more receptive from other people. Is that right word? Receiving is very receptive. Is that right?
Just keep
People
going
are being
with it.
very
Yeah.
receptive.
People are
being
more
very receptive.
responsive. To
Responsive.
Yeah.
There we go.
There
People
you
are more
go.
responsive. I'm not the strongest vocabulary.
You're the team.
That's why I
Yeah,
have
that's how
her.
you're the team.
Yeah.
People are more responsive.
People are more responsive. Sue, like we have. I'm sorry, you're a Russian major, you're English major. Help me out here. Thank you, Noah. No, you're not. You're not stupid, but people are
Definitely
more
not.
responsive to what we're doing because we didn't rely on truth and reconciliation for Arts Wave instead of just like we're just going to do this and we're going to put all our heart into it. We're going to bring people and we're going to try to bring people into this, and it worked. That led us to do like activating music for like 69's Still Smiling Fest. Led us to activating the Gano Alley for 21C for Pride, and now for Blink, and even in Blink people were asking us about, hey, you want to activate more stages in Blink? I don't know if I should say that. I don't care. I don't care.
I think they're releasing
Let
it
us
too.
flex.
Yeah.
No, but because it's the caliber and what we bring. There's nothing like it in Cincinnati, and I think I really want to get it to a place in like the next 5 years that if we're not regionally, we're nationally. Like that's why I want it, because I believe in this. I think we can regionally connect everybody, like people in St. Louis, people in Indianapolis, people in Cleveland, Columbus, Detroit, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Like we're only 5 hours away, max.
Right.
People like just bring that.
Yeah. And then just thinking about leveraging our social capital of like who we know in those cities, where it starts with who do we have that connection with, and that's all we need that ember to really spark something bigger and to ignite it as a bigger project. And I think that's where the direction that we want to really head into.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And it'll be successful too because it comes from the pure intentions.
Yeah. I
Well,
feel
thank
good.
y'all
Yeah,
for
thank you.
coming on the podcast. This
Thank
is
you.
awesome. Of course.
Thank you.
Man, y'all the
Chamomile
homies
tea.
for real.
Chamomile tea.
Chamomile tea.
This podcast is brought to you by
You're right. Chamomile
Bigelow
tea.
Chamomile tea.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Warmth
thank you.
team. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Alex.
Yep.
Thank you.
Y'all are amazing people, and I know that there's no limit to what you can do with Warmth, what you can each do individually. So I'm excited for what's to come. Thank y'all.
Thank you. It's an honor. Pleasure.
And that's Always for the Culture. That's how I'm closing.
You just throw it. You throw it into the.